Let me ask you about your fiddle. I'm always interested in your instrument. It's having a birthday, is that right?
Well, sort of birth year, I guess. I don't know exactly what day it was born, but it was made in 1713. So that's 300 years ago this year. So kind of been celebrating all year.
And there is a Jewish tune on your new holiday album, and there's a remarkable Jewish connection to this violin. What is that?
Well, there are a couple of things on the album that are. I wanted to celebrate kind of as much as I could of my traditional holiday upbringing, and there's a very important man that owned this violin. That was a man named Huberman. Bronislaw Huberman was one of the greatest violinists. Jewish, as most of them were at the beginning of the 20th century, all the greats like Heifetz and Huberman and etc. And Huberman, besides being a great violinist, he founded the Israel Philharmonic in the 40s, late 30s. I'm sorry, I should say, and he actually saved thousands of lives at getting Jewish musicians out of Europe and into Israel, and created this orchestra. He was a very special man, and he owned this violin. So it's very. I actually have a picture of him on my wall with Albert Einstein and this violin, and he was a great figure, Huberman. And but one of the sad things in his life was that this violin was taken from him, stolen from him, at Carnegie Hall of all places. He was playing a concert there, actually fundraising for this new orchestra he was creating in Israel, and somebody snuck in backstage and just took his violin, and he never saw the violin again. He died maybe 10 years later or so, and the violin was missing for 50 years until it turned up after a deathbed confession from the thief. As an old man, he confessed that he had been playing it all this time in cafes and gigs around New York and Washington, and that's why we never found it. Nobody found it because he just played it. Nobody would have suspected that it was a Stradivarius. So finally in the 80s it came back to the world, and I bought it then some 15 years later in 2001. So I've had it now for 12 years. So I'm its caretaker for a while, and then it'll be around hopefully for its 400th birthday.
That's a remarkable story. As people... And I can't help but think, of course, the story of the movie The Red Violin is the fact that you follow the history of this violin, and of course that was you in that movie. You played, and your hands were in the movie.
It's true. I did play my hands. This violin was not in it because that was a couple years before. But when I found this violin and fell in love with it, I immediately noticed it has a very red varnish. It's one of the most red Strads out there, and I immediately thought, this is uncanny. This is the red violin. So
it's very exciting.